Hey everybody. Let's see if can everybody hear me? This is our maiden voyage. So whoever's watching, drop a comment and make sure that you can hear everything. Can you hear me? I could make it easier. Yep. All right. Well, I should be able to see everybody here. I should also be able to respond to any chats that you have. So we're starting a little bit late just because it was trying to register with the YouTube server. But welcome to the very first Andavia Music Program course for prospective parishioners who are interested in the music of our church. This unit is Western Music 0. We're basically just going to go through the elements of Western notation, and by the end of this course you should be able to almost sight read, but at least be able to follow along with somebody in your part in a choir, or if it's just a single note melody, you should be able to at least follow along with the melody that's happening. This course is actually going to be powered by something called musictheory.net. And all we're going to do is we're just going to go through all of these lessons and kind of talk about how Western music works. Towards the end of this course, we're going to go and do some exercises of sight reading and all of that sort of stuff. So it should be a lot of fun. I've got a piano over here that we can run, I think. So we can play a couple of examples here and there. And that's about it. Here's my piano. So this is Unit 1. We're just going to go through, as I mentioned on this first slide, we're just going to go through basic notation. And that's it. And so we're going to start with the very, very basics. So this is the staff. It's got 5 lines on it. And this is basically the landscape for all of Western music writing and composition. On the staff, there's 5 lines, 4 spaces. All of those actually do represent notes. As you can see here, as the notes go up the staff, they correspond to a specific note in music on the piano. The piano is a great way to visualize kind of what's happening musically. They're all white keys. The black keys we'll get into in a future lesson. Or if we have time, we'll go through the accidentals as well. So each one of these lines and spaces corresponds to a key on the piano. So for example, if I have my piano here, as is E, I play an E, if we play, it's like or it's I. Anyway, okay, just put that up here. I'm a piano for this lesson, and everything just corresponds to a white key. And every space. So you can imagine that every line, you actually skip 2 notes here. Now, how do you know what line means what? And that's what these 2 symbols are for. These are called Clefs, and they let you know kind of what the layout and the whole, the way that each note corresponds. And you can move it around. You'll see how that works in a second. So the treble clef and the bass clef are the 2 typical ones. You'll see that on all of our choir stuff and anything else. So we'll look at the treble clef first. They also call it the G clef because that little circle at the, you see left, the kind of red that's been, lets you know that's the note G. So note above G becomes A because our scale only goes from A through G. There's generally only 7 diatonic notes to the octave, so you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's it. So after that, it's B, C, and so forth, all the way up to the next G. So G, A, B, C, D, E, and then back to G. Pretty simple, huh? So what happens when we go outside the staff like this? We go outside the staff, we have to actually create additional lines to kind of assist with the notation. So they're called ledger lines, and you drop a line there, boom, now we have another line. So we can draw that, and that's A. Ledger lines are obviously probably some of the more difficult types of music to read, so usually we inquire to not have staff, you have knowing all ledger lines, because you can do 3, 5 ledger lines, doesn't matter. Anyway, now we're going to go bass clef. So this is what your tenors, baritones, basses are going to look at, and this little dick-a-doo set. So that lets that line know that that line is now F. So we've completely changed the corresponding lines and spaces to notes when we change clefs. So same sort of thing. Go up, it goes to A, you go back down F, D, and we're back down at G. So now we have this thing called the grand staff. Now that's a lot of lines, isn't it? It's probably pretty hard to read that. This is what's used for organists, like when Gail at the church is reading her organ parts, she'll probably prefer to read off of a staff like this. This is basically two staffs kind of smushed together. And it's like chaos right now. How would you even be able to know what notes what? You get rid of the middle line. And so that way, note between grand, you your line. Just visually sit here to see the heck going on. So, now you can put treble F and bass together. And what's not this G is for, if you follow this G, E, D, and a line in C, you have bass 7 F. So F, G, A, and in the middle is C again. So, you may have actually heard the phrase C. And that means it's the C that's in the treble staffs and the grand staff. Pretty basic, huh? So now, that's the end of how this works. You know how to know now, kind of. Moving on. It's thinking, sorry. Any questions so far while we wait for this to load? Like I said, these are all theory. You just go here and you actually go further along if you want. So next one we're going to do is, so now we know how basic stuff works and all the basic pros, right? So now what we need to know is the next element is rhythm. Know how fast something gets sung or performed. We're going to about so the length of time in the space of note range, right? So the length of the little tail of how note is. So the note at 4 beats, it's the longest note in typical scores you'll find. Take out the entire measure usually if you're going to measure 4. Half note is half that. So 2 half notes, like we go 1, 1, 2 halves, 2 halves, right? Quarter is half of that. So we have 1, you have whole, half, 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 quarter, right? Now you put a flag on it, it makes it half of the quarter. So now let's call the quarter our pulse, quarter, right? So your half will be 2 of that, or your eighth will be half of 2 of that. Eighth. And you have to keep dividing it again. So now you have quarter, eighth, 16. See how that works? And just remember that everything that you see all 0 and so forth. Just remember back 4 of those. You can keep smaller and smaller. So this is the full idea of how rhythm is notated in Western music. So let's say you have a whole note. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, whole, 2, 3, 4, whole, 2, 3, 4. Then your half will be half, 2, half, 2, half, 2, half, 2, right? And then you have quarter, eighth, 16, like that. Check. Sorry, I just had a really crazy thing happen. Can you guys still hear me? So that's note rhythms. So we'll move along. Anyway, so now we have our piano. Good. I just had to reset my audio. Hopefully it won't do that thing that it just did again. We'll see. Anyway, so now we're going to go to measures and time signature. So, you have to kind of separate the time part of music into different little sections to kind of make everything make sense. Remember how we were doing the whole note, hold, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. A lot of the time, music gets split up into sections that are 4 beats long, and we'll talk about that here. They're called bar lines, or measure lines, however you want to call them. But they basically divide the time of music, which goes from left to right, into little bite-sized pieces that you can handle. So, time signatures, they'll set up the amount of notes and what type of notes are in each measure. So like this first one here is in 4/4, and the second one's in 3/4. So what's that mean? So that means you have 4. The top number means how many? 4. And the bottom is your division of what type of note it is. So we have 4 quarter notes that fit inside that measure. This one is 3. So the left measure, you would count like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure 2, 3, 4. Measure 3, 4. Measure 2, 4. Right? And then your next one would be 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3. Make sense? So now we have some different types of meters that we probably won't see a lot of in church music, but they do exist. We have 6/8 and we have 3/2. So what does that mean? Six notes, and the type of note is eighth note. So we have 6 eighth notes. This one we have 3 half notes. So these are basically different examples of how you organize time in music. I told you it's easier than it looks. Now we have our rests. Basically, you don't play anything. Some space in between whatever notes you have. You have a note that's all rest, and it's your big thing. So these are the different types of rests, and as you can imagine, they work the same way as notes, right? So these are rest, the rest for week, half, and quarter beat, just 4. So there's rest, and in something you play on it, take it or whatever. Make sure you sing, ladies and gentlemen. So now we have 4, and these are all 4 beats. So 3 through 1 is 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? We remove that second beat and turn in rest. We get 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can keep doing that. Move more into the rest as well. That's the whole rest. Take 4 pieces. Half rest takes up 2. You have flags, you have half, and a quarter length of quarter. So a half of a quarter is an eighth, and a quarter of a quarter is 16th. And add more rest if you want to go nuts with your rest. So this is basically the answer. The notes do using rest. One of us will look at you like you're crazy. So let's talk about some other types of ways to notate rhythms. If you only have those notes, you only have a certain type of set of rhythms you can work with. So there's a couple more notations that you can do. They're a little bit more advanced. See them as much in church music. They do exist. Well, not ties. So what it does is it takes whatever note length that you have and adds 50% to it. But it's all sung or played continuously one note. So like that. So you can also say that a dotted quarter is kind of like 3/8 notes, since 1/4 is like 2/8 notes. So however you prefer to visualize it. A tie happens when you want to have a note that's longer than you can put in one bar, and you have to extend it over to the next bar. You put a tie on it like that. So if we read through this, let's say we're not going to do it with this tie. So it'll just be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But since we have the tie in there, the notes get played like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sense? If you were going to sing, I'm not going to do this. All right. Come on, you piano. All right. I've never had a rest with an online piano before. So let's say this is F. It's probably not. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. F, 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 F. Right? So it's almost like you would be doing nice. 1, 2, 3. You're another there. Make it before having to like that. And so this is basically how these dots work. We were talking about before. You basically add 50% to everything. So with an equal to no quarter is equal to plus an 18th, and blah blah blah. You can also do this with rest. And now we can really look at steps and accidentals. Alright, hear me. Good. Alright, so we're going to look at the final unit of this lesson, and then take a quick out with the Byzantine class. So we're going to talk about the different types of units of pitch in music in general. So the first thing about is the half step. The half step is basically the two lowest keys every have. If you get a C, the C sharp will be the C sharp, or da 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 da, like kind of jaw that half step is. Alright, moving along. Just like I said, a C to a C sharp, half step. You'll notice that on the piano there are a couple of white keys that are just next to each other. They don't have a black key in between them. So, like these two. That's an E and an F. So that is still a half step. Just no black keys. So now we're talking about whole steps. Whole steps is where you skip that half. You go to the next note. So from note 1 to 3, that's a whole step. Da da da. Note 1 to 2 is a half step. Da da da. So 1, 3, 1, 1, 2. Now we have these sharps and flats. Don't be afraid of them. They're not as crazy as you think they are. This flat, all this does is it alters whatever note you're on and makes it higher or lower by half step. So, for example, black C, you could as a sharp. So you G, F, A, B, C, A, C. So of course, right. You want this sharp or sharp. You could also it's a D, but if you go G, A, B, C, D, you write the D. So you simplify it down a half step. Why do we have sharps and flats, Andrew? What's going on? I'll tell you why later. Relax. So, another example here, E and F. You could call E F flat because F is good. There's just no black keys in them. You will never see this, especially in the kind of music we do. F. There's a reason why we do this, but it's not for today's lesson. And it's a cross-selling. This means that within the scope of music, how note is basically the same. double tells. Typically, you do that. So you do a line, you down one, down a second note. The reason why we do this as well, we're not chords. And next do is they immediately make a white key. So we'll talk natural chord later. But for now, I'll just give you an idea. Let's say you said earlier in a measure that you want a sharp. Well, the next time that you push a C, you put a C on that bar, it'll automatically think that it's a C sharp. So if you want to go back to a C, you put it basically says get rid of any sharp, get rid of any flat. It's a white key, so a C is a C is a C, no matter what. Great. That's our first basics of West. I'll leave this open for a little bit of questions if anybody has any questions. But that's a very first of Western. Anybody have questions? Vicky Mustuka says, mine either. Andrew, your voice comes in and out. Yeah, it probably, this is the maiden voice, so it didn't do as well as it would if it was on a newer machine or something like that. Maybe I need to get my faster computer running it. Any other questions? Back to F8. So, you have order. So a little bit more advanced, see them as much in church music. They do a lot of times. So it's not, but it does, it takes whatever note. So 1, 3, 1, 1, 2. So, example here, you could call E F flat. Okay, down a half step. What? So where's the right? You want this back? Sure. Could also it's a D, but G A A C D. You write the D. So you say down a half step. Why do we have sharps and flats, Andrew? What's going on? I'll tell you why later. You could call E. There's a reason why we do